39th episode of PauseCast. It's Thursday, the 4th of May, 2017. I'm Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
Mark.
Yeah?
You did a thing this week. You finally finished Horizon. Wait, no. Shit. That was last week. Shit. I have gotten the timelines.
That was last week. We talked about
I
this.
have gotten the timelines all messed up.
It's alright. You're correct that I did finish Horizon. It just, I did it last week.
Oops.
It's alright, it was still very good.
You've been exploring that, new Horizon.
Okay, I guess that's a sort of save.
I'm saving myself just barely. Hi, welcome to PauseCast. This is a show ostensibly about video games.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, last I checked.
Last I checked, it was maybe about video games. If you were expecting something perhaps about just dog feet, which would be weird, sorry. But this is a video game podcast. We talk about video games. Mark, you've been playing Mass Effect Andromeda still?
I have. I've been playing quite a bit of it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
What was that hour count that you were at?
Oh, I should open Origin and check.
I think you said 60 hours.
I don't think I've actually hit the 60-hour mark, but I think I'm getting close. So I know that in Horizon, before I finish it, I hit 65 hours, and that felt like a good effort, and that was over probably a couple of months, I think.
Right.
But I mean, I have loved Mass Effect since I first encountered it, which was not actually when it was first released. I bought Mass Effect 1 kind of on a whim years after it came out, because I knew the name, but I didn't really know anything about it, and holy crap, it's become my favorite video game franchise, and it did that practically instantly.
I had that same moment with Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Weirdly, where I'd heard the name and I didn't know jack shit about the game. It was just oh yeah, Alan Wake. I've heard about this. I've heard it was good. And then I picked it up and it turns out, oh shit, it's actually really good.
So I've played 53 hours of Mass Effect Andromeda, which is significant when you consider it took me 24 and 25 hours, I think, to finish Mass Effects 1 and 2. So I've already spent more time in this than in both of them put together for a single playthrough. And I'm not near the end of the game by any means.
Right.
So it's a lot bigger than the other Mass Effect games have been. And I didn't notice that until I had to stop and think about it. And I don't know if that's because it's been a while since I played a Mass Effect game. But there's a lot to do. And I really like that. It also has multiplayer similar to Mass Effect 3. And this is cooperative multiplayer, so it's something I actually enjoy. So I've also been playing a bunch of that. I've probably got about 8 hours of multiplayer time in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been really good. It's the only game I've been touching it, and like it was with Horizon, it's the only game I'm going to be touching for a while. But that's okay.
Do you feel like you're gonna run out of it sooner? Because I know one of your things with Horizon was that you didn't play it quite as much as you maybe would have if you had it on PC.
Yeah. So the thing with that, when I play narrative games, or even if they're not narrative games, but the type of game I want to... Remember a few episodes back I talked about sort of role players acting in video games?
Yes.
When I want to play a game like that, I much prefer to do it when I don't have to worry about being interrupted. I mean, of course, I don't mind my cat coming to join me, but it's nice when I can just be in my room playing it. Whereas with Horizon, it's a PlayStation game. We've got a shared PlayStation, me and my flatmate. He owns it. I own Horizon. So I was in the living room, which is fine. And it's not as I don't like his company or anything, but I'd find myself looking for times when I could play it while he's up in his room playing D&D or something like that.
Right.
Whereas, with Andromeda, I can just hermit myself away and spend a whole weekend playing it and leave him wondering if I'm still alive, which is kind of a thing I think he was wondering last weekend. But yeah, so it means that I rack up my playtime much faster. At least that's part of the reason why, I think.
Yeah, it's just that isolation factor.
Yeah, it's nice having a PC game again, and that's a big part of why, is that I can just take it away and do it on my own. Because I found Mass Effect, in particular for me, has become quite a personal story. I don't talk about it in depth with a lot of people. I had another flatmate a while ago who also played it, and I found it infuriating to talk with him about it in the end because he was. I mean, this is partly just the dynamic between him and me, but he was quite competitive. So he'd be like, "No, my shepherd did this better." It's like, well, it was the same story, and that sort of seemed to cheapen it to me. So I try to sort of curate the people I'll talk with Mass Effect in depth with
Right.
to other people, so people who I know also really enjoy it and have a similar, I guess, sort of respect for the story that I do. Not to say that we can't criticize it, but there it is. That I can feel safe in the conversation. That's not going to go somewhere I don't really want it to go. If that
What do you
makes
mean
sense.
by respect for the story, if you don't mind my asking?
You know when Mass Effect 3 came out and there was a lot of people complaining about the ending?
Yep, I remember that very fondly.
Yeah, I think the ending to Mass Effect 3 was fine.
Same.
And I don't really want to have to get in an argument with someone who thinks that something I liked wasn't good. I don't find that fun at all. If they've got like a good reason I hadn't thought of, that just some perspective I hadn't seen, then sometimes it's fine. But normally, video game culture being what it is just whining. And that's not fun. I much prefer to geek out with someone else who loves the same thing that I love, you know?
The finality of Mass Effect 3's ending was what really got to me in the end. I really enjoyed that.
We should spoiler warning this if anyone hasn't played through the Shepard trilogy of Mass Effect, go do it.
Yeah, like the I'm being vague on purpose here. The
Sure,
ending
I might
of
be a little
Mass
more
Effect
specific,
3 though
though.
is like the most final thing you can kind of run into.
Only because
Even
it diverges
with the,
so far.
patch.
Because I mean, previous games you've made choices, and then it comes up, and your choices will have effects on later games. But those aren't like affect the whole galaxy. The end of Mass Effect 3, you make a big choice that then, like, if they followed after that, things would be very, very, very different depending on which choice you made, which makes it really hard to follow up.
Yeah.
Which is why Andromeda is possible, because it's completely removed. You know, this is a group of people who left the galaxy before the events of Mass Effect 3 even happened and can't go back. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
it would take 600 years to go back. So they can ignore that and hand wave it away and continue along the same universe, which is really nice. But yeah, there is a finality to it. So Shepard's story is over. One thing I really like about the finality of it is it means I can feel completely safe in having my own headcanon for what happened afterwards. Because I know BioWare isn't going to come in and stomp all over that, because this is like, it's kind of a statement when they have this big divergence that they're not going to do anything more with it because they'd have to reconcile all these divergent endings.
Right,
Does that make
yeah.
sense? So
It
that's kind of
definitely
nice,
makes
where I
sense.
can think about, so what happened next to my Shepard, and no one can ever fuck with that.
I really enjoyed Mass Effect 3. I enjoyed its ending.
Hmm.
I really and truly think that, like, a lot of people love Mass Effect 2. I think it's probably my least favorite in the series.
I really liked all of them. I think Mass Effect 3 was my favorite. It felt to me like it had some of the most defining moments for the characters.
Yeah.
Mass Effect
Like,
2 had some, but I feel like Arrival, the post-campaign DLC for Mass Effect 2, is probably the most significant part of the whole Mass Effect 2 story for me.
right.
I haven't actually played the Mass Effect 3 DLC. I'm really sad about this. I've got it all, but I got it all. I finished Mass Effect 3 before that happened, and I haven't had the time to play through it again. Because when I play through it again, it will be play through Mass Effect 1 first, then 2, then 3, like the whole thing over again. And that's a big commitment of time. And
Yeah,
I was
for
thinking
sure.
of doing it before Andromeda, but the fact that it's not a continuation of the same story made me feel sort of safe that I can not do it. And I was playing Horizon at the time, you know. I'll do it one day, but that means that there's still a bunch of Mass Effect 3 content I haven't seen because I haven't played the DLCs. So I haven't seen the extended cut ending. I haven't done the Citadel or the other ones whose names I can't remember. I think there's Omega and the one about a derelict or something. The Leviathan, I think. So I haven't done any of those. I will one day. It's actually kind of nice to still have in my head that there's a little bit more I can squeeze out of it when I go back to it.
Yeah, like, I don't know. if I were to go back to Mass Effect at this point, I'd like, I don't know, I might not. I might not go back to Mass Effect at all, because I think at this point I've gotten kind of everything I would have wanted to out of that series. It feels concluded.
You're
feels like,
talking specifically about Shepard's arc.
well, yeah, and I'm talking about like just the whole story, like everything that happens within it. I'm not really super interested in like doing like pure Paragon, pure Renegade runs.
Oh no, I wouldn't
like
do
thing.
that. No, because see, that's one of the things, and I don't want to shit on people who do play it this way and enjoy it this way, because it's totally fine to do it. But for me, that just totally breaks away from that role playing aspect of it from me, where I want to be able to tell, or play through / tell, because it's sort of collaborative and that you make the choices. This story as though Shepard were a real person, not just, oh, what if I pick all of the left choices, or what if I just pick all the mean things? That feels like it cheapens the character to me. And you can totally play the character that way, but I wish you were doing it because you were thinking, they're a person who would act like this, instead of, oh, I just want to see what happens if I pick all the
I agree.
renegade stuff.
And I mean, like, I think that same sort of logic could be applied to, like, and this is very much inspired by H. Bomber Guy's Undertale video. Like, the same thing could be applied to Undertale, where, like, Undertale will eventually just chastise you for continuing to play that game, especially if you, like, continue to just get neutral endings. It'll just chastise you for it. Like, don't you have something better to do? That's literally what the game will ask you. Like, don't you have something better to do than to, like, within the framing devices of, like, exist within the framing devices of Undertale and the events of that? I think that video is really interesting, by the way. It's called Perverted Sentimentality.
Okay. Is it a playthrough of Undertale or something?
No, it's not a playthrough. It's a about a 15-minute video essay on Undertale, and it's really, really fascinating. If you haven't completed Undertale, it's pretty spoiler heavy.
Right, I've not completed Undertale.
If you've completed Undertale, it's a video which I would highly recommend watching. I've watched it even though I haven't, because I don't know that I will return to Undertale. But I've really enjoyed the analysis of that game's themes, and I think they could be even extended to Mass Effect in this case. Like, I don't really see the point in just trying to wring every bit of content, #content, out of Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. I don't want to see all the endings. I want to see kind of my story.
Yeah.
I think Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls are kind of the same in that sense too. Like, I don't really want to go and see what would happen if maybe I made these different choices in Heavy Rain. Though I do want to see what would happen if I'm probably going to go back to that, because I want to see what'll happen if I actually complete a couple of the trials I failed at.
Yeah,
but
I could understand going back to change something you found you regretted and you wanted to improve the story because you thought it would work better if you went left instead of right or whatever. But I don't know, regret's part of a good story sometimes.
I was gonna say that, yeah. Like, regret would be essential to. I think regret may even be essential to Heavy Rain. Now that I'm thinking about it, you've played that, right?
I have. I've played and I've finished it, so you can be as spoiler heavy as you like. I know all about that.
Like, I'm still gonna keep it pretty light, but like the trials, right?
Yeah.
I screwed up a couple of those. I also got like unique scenes because I screwed up a couple of those trials. I solved the mystery in the end, but I screwed up a couple those trials along the way, and got unique scenes because of it. And that also, like, in spite of my like saying, "Oh, maybe I'll go back," I messed those up. It's like it also makes those moments stick out to me as these moments of powerlessness in a game.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's something that stands out a bit in Heavy Rain. I think is that you can feel powerless and not know what to do. I definitely remember getting that impression in some parts of the story, although it was a
Do you
while ago
remember the
now.
butterfly trial specifically?
No.
Power plant?
Is this one where there's like electric things you have to go between?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember butterflies.
It was called the butterfly trial. I don't
Oh,
know why it was called that,
oh,
but
okay.
I remember
It's
that.
like you have to hold a bunch of buttons at the same time, kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No, I do remember doing that.
Them shits was brutal. That whole game gets a lot of shit. Beyond gets a lot of shit. Those games are really good.
Yeah, I was surprised because I played through Heavy Rain without really having followed any conversations on it or anything, as I tend to do, and I really enjoyed it. I played through it in like one or two sittings. I got kind of hooked and stayed up really late. And then I was surprised. I was surprised later on when people were saying they didn't like it because I was like, oh, I actually thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
I finished about half of that game in a single sitting.
Hmm.
Same with Beyond. Like, both of those games were just so utterly compelling to me that I did finish them, like, in much, much bigger chunks than I spend on most games.
Yeah, and they're the sort of game. Oh, I haven't played Beyond Two Souls, but from playing Heavy Rain, they're the kind of games where you can treat it like a really long movie rather than something that's got like a whole bunch of side quests you might want to do for full completion.
Yeah,
or
no, like,
secret
you're going through
items or whatever.
this linear path.
Yeah,
By the way, you should play Beyond if you get a chance. That's got it's actually got some like real big name actors and stuff in this one. They got like Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe in there.
I don't know. I feel like having big name actors might be a downside rather than an upside if they're recognizable. Because I find this in movies as well. Obviously, they're often really good if they're well known, but like it can make it harder to see the characters as anyone but the actor sometimes. At least I get that.
I think
get
you'd
that
enjoy it, even bearing that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I expect I would. From what I've heard of it, I think my brother played it and enjoyed it.
I have a copy of the collection for the PS4.
Though I also have an already lengthening list of games to play in Steam, and that's not even counting the fact that I'm going to be spending like a lot more time in Andromeda before I touch any
Okay.
of them.
if you want to borrow my copy though, do let me know.
Thanks.
I'll bring it in. Wow. Have you been playing anything else other than like Andromeda?
No, not. I haven't even been thinking about it.
It's been kind of your thing.
No, I've been on a bit of a space binge as well because I've been inspired partly by Andromeda. I've been reading up on orbital mechanics and stuff again, which I've done previously when I got into Kerbal Space Program. So that's been fun too.
You've
I didn't
built like
end up...
a little web project off of that.
Yeah, so the last couple of evenings, I didn't actually play any Andromeda last night because of this. I've been building a 2D orbit simulator. I've done one a few years ago, which was based on inertia and gravity, like calculating the forces and stuff. This one is using a different method. It's using the same method that Kerbal Space Program uses, except in 2D, which is called patched conics, if anyone wants to Google it. I've been learning a lot from it, which is really cool, but I probably shouldn't get into any detail because I'll ramble on and no one will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's been all Andromeda for me, and partly the multiplayer. Actually, I should mention what the multiplayer is like, because I don't remember if we did last week.
No, yeah, and
so
before you do that though,
before you
do that, I haven't said what I'm playing this week.
No, you haven't. What have you been playing this week?
This week, I've begun to revisit Dead Space with Ash. Yeah.
Space horror.
Some space horror. Dead Space is still good as hell. That game is so fucking choice still. I still remember bits and pieces of it, but I don't remember enough that it's still just... It's... Oh, God, it's so choice. Dead Space is a really, really elegantly designed series, and I'm glad that I've revisited it a little bit now. I'm gonna probably continue to do that.
Nice.
I still love the in-game UI, and I love the single shot sequences. All of it
That's right,
is
because the
just
whole thing is a single shot, right?
yeah. The whole thing is a single shot. The camera does not break away. It's so cool. Um, yeah, Dead Space has been treating me very right in my revisit. I'm looking forward to spending more time with that this week.
Nice.
Um, Battlefield 1 has continued to treat me so right. I've been unable to get the intro mission off my just out of my head.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it a little bit more later because I really really think that this mission is beyond something special. It is astounding.
That sounds
Also on the list. Wow, that's kind of it, huh?
good.
I've not played a lot of. I haven't honestly played a lot of games this week. I mean,
Remember
I got
who
to
you're
the
being
best.
compared with, though. I've been playing one, and
I mean,
I've been playing just one
I also
before.
got to the best part of Breath of the Wild. Was the other thing I was gonna say was I made it to the Rito village, which I'd previously complained about it being really really far away, and locked off in this real high level area. I did just get there, and I'm there. The bird people are real good. They're really good. These real sweet bird boys and girls. It's very good. Let's get back to Mass Effect Andromeda, though.
Sure. So, the multiplayer, if anyone's played Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, it's pretty much the same, but I think that's good. So obviously it's a third-person shooter. If you didn't know that already, it's a third-person shooter when it comes to combat, and the multiplayer is entirely combat. There's none of the dialogue stuff in there. It's cooperative, not competitive, so it's you and up to 3 other players against waves of enemies. So sets you on a map. You got a few seconds, then the first wave comes, and you get 7 waves of enemies, getting progressively more powerful. It's one of 3 factions of enemies each match. You get 7 waves of the same faction, and waves 3 and 6 have got some objective you need to complete. There's a few ones like hold a certain point. There's one that's go and get items and then bring them to another point. One that's kill specific enemies within a time limit. And then on wave 7 is extraction, which is when there's a 2-minute countdown. At the end of the 2-minute countdown, you need to be within a certain area in order to get extracted, and you get a bunch of extra points at the end for doing that, which count towards your experience and stuff. Which is interesting because if you go straight there, you draw all the enemies to it and get overwhelmed before the 2 minutes comes up, because that's when all of the really powerful enemies are coming. And it's a lot of fun. It's got a big downside though as well, which is that it has the same unlock system as Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, which is you get credits for winning matches. I think if you lose, you might get some, but not as many. And then you can spend them on packs of cards, which are random items that you get. So you get about 10,000 credits per bronze round. I've only done the bronze ones so far. You can spend, I think it's 20,000, and you get 5 cards, one of which is guaranteed to be uncommon. You can, and then there's 50,000 for guaranteed rare and 100,000 for guaranteed 2 rares. So I tend to save up. But last time, the 2 rares I got, one was a sniper rifle and one was a sniper rifle mod, and I don't use sniper rifles with the characters that I've been playing. Whereas you could unlock, a new character class to play or something. So
right, okay.
The randomness of that can be really annoying. I remember in Mass Effect 3, they released a bunch of free multiplayer DLC, which all had really cool content, but you had to rely on this random unlock system in order to get it. So even though I played a bunch of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, while that DLC was available, I never got to play as any of those new classes or anything. So I'm worried a bit about that here as well, because I remember that was really infuriating. But I have got lucky, because when I first started up, I had a bunch of free card sets for like, you own Mass Effect 3. I bought the more expensive version. It thought I pre-ordered it, even though I didn't, but I'm not going to complain. And one of the things I unlocked was one of the ultra rare classes. So, and I actually really enjoyed playing that class. So I got lucky. And it kind of sucks when you have to get lucky in a progression system.
Yeah, for sure.
But for all that, I have been having fun with it. It's got microtransactions as well, but that's hardly worth mentioning. Microtransactions are bad. I don't like them.
For sure.
I mean, you can make a point for them. I don't like them.
I mean, for what it's worth, like I generally think they're fine for the cosmetics. I don't really care if they're just skins. Like I like that Titanfall 2 has basically been running like its continued development support off of the microtransactions, because they have like what are called Prime Titans, which have like new executions and new like chassis that you can apply all your
execution special moves or something you can do.
Yeah, if you reduce a Titan's health bar, it goes into a state called Doomed, in which it takes more damage, but you can like self-destruct to cause other surrounding Titans or pilots a huge amount of damage.
Right.
But basically it means like your Titan can't recover any health, you can't use shields, all systems are basically down. And so it's at that point when they're doomed, if you do a melee attack on a doomed Titan, it does what's called an execution, which is just a special move which generally blasts open the like pilot door and you blast apart the pilot and the Titan.
Right.
But there's a special version and a special like chassis of each version of the Titan. And those are just those are like a microtransaction. I don't mind that so much, especially not when it funds post-game development, and it means that like there's no season pass for Titanfall 2. All the DLC is free. And it's going to be I think the same case with Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's not going to be a season pass, but there will be like cosmetic stuff you can get that funds the post-game development and continues to like, one, prove there's an active community, two, just produce be able to produce DLC economically and continue support for the game, which then also helps grow the game.
I don't know if that's how Mass Effect 3 funded it, but I know that all of the multiplayer DLC they had was free. Yeah. So I wonder if that might have just been to make it easier so that everyone who played multiplayer had the same DLC. They didn't have to worry about, do you have this, do you not?
I mean, there's a little bit of that too. I think we'll see a shift more towards using microtransactions and then having all the DLC be free so that everybody's always playing the latest version. And then you can pay a little bit more to support the like development of a game you like, and you don't have to pay as much as like a season pass.
It certainly makes sense for multiplayer when people need to be on the same instance and therefore have the same content.
Yeah, like Battlefield 4 even, like I can't really go back to that game even though it's got an active community.
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused again. Battlefront 2 is Star Wars.
Yes, Battlefront 2 is Star Wars.
Battlefield 1 comes after Battlefield 4.
And Battlefield 4 was like a modern combat kind of situation.
But it was years before Battlefield 1 came out.
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
Naming is stupid.
I know, these are particularly confusing examples for me.
Yes. There's like a lot of battle being mentioned.
Yeah,
I'm very sorry.
Number. And the numbers in the wrong order. Okay. Right, yeah. Yeah, there's some cosmetic stuff in Mass Effect as well, but in order to unlock cosmetic stuff for a particular character, you need to unlock that character multiple times.
Right.
Which is like not very likely to happen for the rarer characters unless you play a whole lot. But for the common characters, you might, because it's just cheap to get a bunch of cars, and you might get them a bunch of times.
Right, okay.
And then if you unlock the same equipment again, you get like a more powered up version of that. But that means you could, get the same gun you don't use 6 times instead of the character you want. Because you can't be like, I want to get a new character. You can just be like, I want to get a rare card. So, yeah. It's a bit of a pain.
I think that's fair. So.
Yeah.
Wow, we went a lot into Mass Effect. Do you have more
Mass
Mass Effect,
is
though?
my stuff. Yeah, I do. I've got some more single player thoughts.
Bring it. Let's go.
One thing that I think was ever present in Shepard's arc, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, is there is an imminent threat. Right from the first opening mission of Mass Effect 1, it introduces the bad guy and they're going to do something nasty unless you stop them. And you stop them at the end, and then Mass Effect 2, it starts and, you've been attacked by some mysterious enemy and they're going to do something nasty unless you stop them. And then Mass Effect 3 starts and it's, the galaxy is being invaded by this really nasty enemy, and unless you stop them, it's the end of the world for every world. So there was always like, you need to save the galaxy, Shepard. And there's this, that urgency to it. Even though you could spend a lot of time in these games doing side quests and stuff, that was still there. And it was kind of a driving force. There's less of that in Andromeda, and I feel like that's intentional. I don't mean it as a criticism. Essentially, the game starts, unsurprisingly, when you arrive in Andromeda. And it doesn't instantly set up with, this is the bad guy and they're doing bad things and you have to stop them. It's, okay, you're in a new place and not everything's gone to plan, so maybe help everyone else survive. And it's a much more open-ended thing driving the story, which is really interesting, because it makes it have quite a different feel from the other arc, the Shepard arc, which I think is quite nice. And it lends, it goes hand in hand with that thing I mentioned earlier about how there seems to be a lot more content in this game. Like, I've already spent more than twice as much in it as I had in Mass Effect 1. Part of that is because you're exploring on some worlds. Like, there are worlds where you drive around in your vehicle, and you'll go and find side quests and stuff like that. You okay?
I'm sorry, I'm 3 years old and I just noticed Stardew Valley got a patch on Steam.
Yeah.
With a file size of 6669 kilobytes. Moving swiftly onwards.
Actually, that reminds me. I'm going to switch gears completely. No, the patch thing, not this. Jesus. No. Horizon is getting a patch with some cool shit in it. There were some UI things that bugged me a bit in that game. They weren't really enough to complain about, but they were there. Such as
there was the UI things that didn't disappear even when you turn them off.
There was only like one of those, and that didn't end up really being an issue later on.
Okay.
Although apparently they are adding a little more customization to the custom UI. I don't know the details of that. But there was also stuff like, if you want to craft bigger packs, you have to go into each pack to see if you can craft a bigger one. Whereas now, they'll highlight the ones that you've got the materials for and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can sell entire stacks of stuff with fewer button presses. And also, 2 things that I think are really cool. One is improvements to photo mode, including things like making Aloy pose or pull an expression or look at the camera. And also the ability to hide headgear. The stronger armor in the game all had headgear on it, and for that reason I didn't use the strongest armor in the game, but now you'll be able to hide it, which I think is great. Every game where you can put a helmet on a cool looking character should allow you to take the helmet off the cool looking character. That's something you can do in Mass Effect. You can decide for you and for your squad mates if they've got the helmet on all the time, outside of conversations, or off all the time.
I fully agree. Like, having my helmet off in Skyrim was very important to me, to the point where I installed a mod for it.
Yeah, right, because you feel like you're missing out on the better gear.
Yeah, exactly. And even just like the armor bonuses, like the main thing I wanted out of Skyrim was I wanted those armor bonuses that you got if you wore a complete set, but I didn't have to wear the fucking helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, like, don't penalize your characters for wanting to have their characters look good, Witcher 3. So that's cool. So yeah, in Mass Effect, your helmets can have stat effects, but you don't have to show them. They'll still show up in certain cutscenes if, they wouldn't be able to breathe otherwise.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
which is
like,
fine.
if you're out in space and stuff.
Don't not put a helmet on.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
But they still do that, and I mean that's consistent with how the other Mass Effect games handled it, from what I remember. Where you could say don't wear a helmet.
There was definitely an option in all the Mass Effects.
But it would still put your helmet on if you were in space, like not in a spaceship. So that's good. I'm glad they're adding that to Horizon because, don't penalize characters for wanting to look cool. And headgear just kind of gets in the way, especially when you've got close-ups of the character's face and dialogue, and it's like, why am I wearing this huge hat?
It's the biggest hat in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the armor I wore was the Nora Protector Medium, which is...
That's a really early game armor. I think
all the Nora stuff you can get right at the start. But remember how the equipment, like, it depends a lot on modifications, and you can get stronger modifications later in the game. I didn't feel penalized by it too much. I would have been stronger if I had the better armor, but I would have had a big hat. It's got headgear because it's a medium armor, but it's like this tiny band across her forehead, so it wasn't too bad.
Right.
But yeah, that's cool. It's a good thing to have in games where you can put on a helmet, is to say, hey, here's how you get the stat boost without having to have the helmet.
Sweet.
Yeah. I also really like the customization options for armor in Andromeda. I've found both a casual outfit and an armor set that really suits my rider well. So I really like that. That's always nice.
Oh, fuck. I was gonna say something. Fuck, shit, fuck.
You okay?
Oh, I remember. Armor sets in Mass Effect specifically also.
Yeah.
I think back in Mass Effect, my favorite armor sets were like the Dragon Age armor that you could get if you
really?
also owned like Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, I had
it looks
that. I never
fucking
used
sick.
it.
Hang on. There's also like a Dead Space one, which just makes you look like Isaac Dead Space.
I never found in Mass Effect 1, you have to upgrade your armor or you won't be very effective, and you don't get to customize colors on it or appearance or anything. It's the armor you get in loot. Looks like this.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect 2, you started customizing your armor, and it didn't have much effect on gameplay. It was almost all cosmetic. You had to buy the different pieces from merchants, and that was better. Let you customize the colors for it, and you could say Shepard wears armor like this, and that was a lot better. And Mass Effect 3 continued the same kind of thing. And Andromeda's got a halfway between, where you still find armor as loot, but they're different pieces that you fit together. You get a torso, a head. You can also make it, and you get to set the colors for it. So you can still get cool loot and have a special look.
Right, yeah.
That's consistent for you. I remember I never really had specific pieces of armor that I associated with my Shepard, but I got colors that I did. And then my brother pointed out to me right near the end of Mass Effect, why are you wearing Cerberus colors? And I realized, oh shit, I have accidentally given myself the colors of the human supremacist enemies on my armor.
Oops.
Yeah, I did it without realizing, and I'd been playing like that for 40 hours. So that was a thing. And now I've ended up with effectively N7 colors on Ryder, despite now playing a character who's not N7, whereas Shepard was.
Right, yeah.
Because I've got black with red highlights on Ryder's armor when I'm playing now, and I think it looks really cool. One of the armor pieces has got like a big collar that takes on the secondary color, so it looks real nice. It's cool when games let your characters look nice by dressing them up.
Yes, I found it.
Yeah.
I'm uploading some photos of this solid as fuck Dragon Age armor.
Yeah, I never really got into cross-universe stuff, but it does.
I think the Dragon Age one specifically looks good as hell, though.
Yeah, it looks pretty
This,
cool, but it's not something I'd put on my Shepherd.
I think that's fair. A lot of my Shepherd was just like my Shepherd looked like fucking the most neon assassin ever. Look at this neon assassin. She's like black armor, bright blue, neon blue highlights. Looks really great in the dark because the eyes kind of glow.
Hard to tell in that lighting.
You can see it in this next
Oh,
photo.
yeah. I
You can
think
see
all my
like
Mass
that
Effect 3
glow.
photos... Do I have them? I've got a lot of Mass Effect 3 screenshots. I don't know if I have them on this computer. I don't think I do.
This is why I just have a folder, which is just all screenshots for days.
Yeah, well, it's on my desktop, which isn't currently connected to a monitor.
Right, okay.
That's all. So I've got a lot. But no, I can't.
I've talked about it before on
no,
the show even, but I have about 900.
Yeah, I've got a lot. I would like mash the screenshot button during most cutscenes and then go back through after the game and like take out the best ones. So I ended up with a lot of pretty cool ones. I've been doing the same with Andromeda now, which is quite fun. It's quite actually nice after a session to go back through and be like, oh yeah, I did this, this, and this, and just sort of consolidate it as you're picking up the nice screenshots. I noticed in one cool screenshot I had, hey, wait a minute, me and my two squad mates are holding an assault rifle that I don't own and have never seen before. I mentioned it to Pat, my brother, and apparently they just did that by mistake sometimes. There was a rifle that didn't make it into the game, but it did make it into some of the cutscenes. So now I think they're adding it to the game because like they've got the model, so why not?
Yeah, it's also interesting that you mentioned like that screenshot thing.
Yeah.
Because like just looking through my screenshots right now even, it like reminded me of just all of my experiences playing these segments. They're fresh in my mind now.
Nice.
I have a really like the last shot of my Shepherd is kind of iconic. I want to send this to you.
I'm starting at my desktop. I'm going to see if I can remote desktop to it and pull through my screenshots so I can send you some as well. Yeah, I know where that's from.
Screenshots is a way of reliving the events of a game.
I've done that. I've gone back through and looked through my Mass Effect 3 screenshots. I've got them from the other two games as well, but I've got the best ones from Mass Effect 3.
I mean, I even have stuff from like Fallout 4, and I could like look through this and tell you like the specific experiences of this character when this shot was taken. I could tell you the story of my entire character.
Ending Mass Effect 3 was a real weird experience for me. Like I felt sad for a long time afterwards. Like it was like there were some friends that I'd never see again kind of thing. So it's nice to have these like photos of that.
Yeah.
Almost. Like I know I can go back and play them again. But the story's finished. Like I've done the same story. I don't know, like the nostalgia can help. It won't be that for the first time unless I'm playing the Mass Effect 3 DLC.
Yeah.
Damn it, I tried turning on my desktop but it's not working. I think there's no there's no keyboard plugged in.
I forgot about this weird cat shrine that I found in Fallout 4. I found like a cat shrine in the basement.
I think I found it.
I just have an excellent sign in front of my like base too. Was a thing I had. When they added neon, I did fun things with that. I can't tell you what they say on this show. I had a good time with that though. Apparently.
Okay.
That's fair just enough. In my screenshot folder. It actually kind of rules, and I might have a use for it, but like basically nobody's going to see it.
Sure.
I'll send you this cat shrine though, because this is a real neat thing that I forgot about. I think it was literally in like the basement of like a church too.
Yeah, that sounds like the one I found, I think, from memory.
So I'm totally going to talk about Battlefield 1, because I just want to talk about Battlefield 1. Here's the deal with Battlefield 1, and more specifically, I want to talk about its like opening mission. It's a mission called Storm of Steel. If you want to go and like look it up at any point. The thing about Storm of Steel is that it's really good. It is mandatory to play it when you have Battlefield 1, and I mean that quite literally. You are forced into this prologue section before you can get to the rest of the game. So everybody who plays this game will see this mission. It is this Storm of Steel is this very tonally dark. It's this very tonally dark mission, which puts you quite literally immediately into frontline combat, and I've talked about it briefly on the show before. Insofar as like I've talked about the message it displays right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which now that I've like seen it again and can recall it in more detail, it talks very specifically about World War One, how many people served in it, and like how it was supposed to be like the war to end all wars, and it ended nothing. Nothing happened as a result of World War One, but a lot of things changed as a result of it. Battlefield 1 immediately sets itself up rather than this like glorification of World War One that a lot of people were worried about, because it's a war which was largely fought pointlessly. A lot of people died pointless deaths during all of World War One. And so when this game was announced, there was concern about how this game was going to treat this war, which has rare senses of who is like good and evil in a given scenario, whose motivations are right. There's less of this than in, say, World War II, where it's pretty objectively clear that the Nazis are evil. Like, that's pretty clear. If that's not clear to you, please seek help immediately. Like, the Nazis are fucking evil in World War II, and they're very clearly the bad guy. But there's nothing like that in World War One, and so people were, I think, understandably nervous that it was not going to be treated with the amount of seriousness that it was. I think this intro serves to a point of immediately aiming to disprove that, because it immediately sets out to treat this war with this sense of utmost seriousness and respect. And so the mission opens with you right at the front lines, and you've been told that you're being surrounded. So you get yourself ready, and this whistle blows, and then people start to flood towards you. So you begin to shoot. And eventually you're overwhelmed at this position, and you die. The soldier's name is displayed on the screen. You can see it, and you can see the date, you can see the year in which they died and the year in which they were born. A lot of times, this is a very short period of time. You'd be looking at 1890s to 1914 kind of situation. You'd be seeing, like, essentially this gravestone, this epitaph of a young man who would have died during this. A fictional young man in this situation, almost certainly, but a young man who would have died in the war in his 20s. And then you shift perspectives. You're in another place in the battle. And you're overwhelmed there too. And that gravestone displays again. You shift perspectives. You're now in a tank. Roll along in this tank. You're this big hulking machine of death. You feel it kind of like there's this moment in which you are in the tank, in which I think you may find yourself feeling like you're very, very powerful. And then at some point, you're hit with an explosive from underneath that gravestone again. So now you come into this final person's life. You come into another soldier. I think you may have even switched factions at this point. You're trying to advance up a hill, seize control over this point, so you may finally have a chance. You're fighting against this like futility and this overwhelming sense that like this is it, and the music that plays in the background begins to like drum up this sense of purpose, a sense of intensity. It's repetitive, and then it's a bit like this cycle that you've been in for this kind of past 10 minutes. And then you see a concluding scene in which a member of both sides do lay down their arms as the sun rises over the battlefield. And it's this scene of utter destruction, and both sides of this war are kind of just they're left there wondering, what the fuck did we just do? Why the fuck are we here? It's this really, really powerful scene. And I really appreciate Battlefield 1 for going out of its way to make this scene happen and to like immediately convey how this game was going to work tonally. That it wasn't going to ignore the loss and the pointless deaths that occurred during this war. Rather, that it was going to try to acknowledge them in the best way that it could. I think it's this really important goal, which they accomplished, and this scene I've been unable to get the scene out of my mind for the past few days. It didn't come back from anything in particular. It's just been it's been at the back of my mind, and now it's come to the forefront, and I've started thinking about it again.
How long ago did you play through it?
I would have first played through this scene about a month or two ago.
For a video game, that's a fairly lasting impression.
For anything for me, that's a pretty lasting impression. I mean, like, something like that would have gotten a lasting impression out of me would have also been like something like Guardians of Ga'Hoole. But that was also like formative to me. That was like a literal formative work for me growing up.
I don't know what that is.
It was a young adult fantasy series about owls.
A book series?
Yeah, book series.
Okay.
It was a movie eventually. The movie was fine. But like that and like a series of unfortunate events were like huge.
Oh, yeah.
They were huge to me growing up. And like they've had a lasting impact. I think like Guardians of Ga'Hoole helped like cement my love of birds.
Mm-hmm.
And my love of like owls specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a lot of there were like not only were owls a passion at the time, but like I think they've helped make that last. But yeah, the central point here is like I've been unable to get Storm of Steel out of my mind for having that big of an impact and that that good of an execution of this like 10-minute segment that's right at the beginning of the game. And that as a tone setter is astonishing. The mission deserves awards. I'm not even using hyperbole when I say that. That deserves awards much more than something like Effect and Cause, which I loved very much. It was a great mission in Titanfall 2. But like I think something like this, something like Storm of Steel is more deserving of a narrative award than Effect and Cause was. That's my piece. You got any thoughts?
Nice. I haven't played through it, but like I agree with what you're saying. It's important for a game to make good first impressions as well, right?
Yeah.
And it can be hard to do as well, especially if it's a game where you don't have an existing attachment to anything in that world. I mean, like this is set now with like the characters and stuff, which you might in a sequel to a game that you've played or something. It might be easy to build a bit off the characters you already care about, but it's hard for a new story completely. You don't have anything like that to go on to do something that has that much of an impact.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, let's see what time we're at. Yeah, we're good. Hey, we're good. We did it. We've made it to the end. Mark,
yeah.
I assume that you're just going to be playing a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, pretty much. I've hit the point with my patched conic simulation where the next thing I need to do is look into all the extra programming I'm going to have to do to handle hyperbolic orbits. And
now, what is all of that in plain English? Because you've talked to me about this a little bit.
So,
but for our audience.
Okay. Patched conics is the name of the simulation because orbits, if you ignore all the modern physics like relativity, are specific shapes called conic sections. Ellipses are the most common orbits. They're just closed orbits. But if you're in an escape trajectory where you're going to not come back, essentially, the shape is called a hyperbola. And currently, my code doesn't know how to move an object along a hyperbola so that it's at the right point at the right time, or how to draw them either. It can do it with ellipses, so I can move between elliptical orbits, but as soon as it hits something on an escape trajectory, it shits itself. So I'm going to, and because I'm learning so much in this, I'm going to need to go and study and find out all about hyperbolic orbits and stuff before I write any code. And that might be something for the weekend, but tonight, once we finish recording, I'm going to boot up Andromeda and play some of the single player. And then, depending on how that goes, I might play some of the multiplayer before bed as well.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I think this week Dead Space is going to kind of be my big thing.
Cool.
I think my return to that.
Did you say you've been playing split screen? Does it have split screen?
It doesn't have split screen.
For some reason I thought it had split screen.
The only Dead Space which has like any co-op is Dead Space 3.
Okay.
Which does something interesting with that co-op actually. Have I told you about what Dead Space 3 co-op does?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, so in Dead Space 3, in certain like locations, each player will be seeing completely different things.
I have actually heard about that.
It's a really kind of cool mechanic. I've definitely I've played a little bit of the co-op and I've run into it once and it was enough to it definitely sent both me and the person I was playing with into just utter disarray.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, "What? No, no. That's not what's happening in this room. This thing is happening in this room. No, I don't see that. I don't see that at all."
That's cool. Especially given the themes of a game like that, right?
Yeah, especially given the themes of Dead Space, the continual uncertainty that you are seeing the same thing that your partner is. And then you may even have to describe that scene to your partner. It's really cool. It turns out EA makes really interesting games, or publish really interesting games, and then a lot of the times they get a miss. That's a shame. We've talked a lot about EA games this week. Holy shit.
Well, I suppose I'm playing one, and that's all I'm playing.
Yeah, and I'm playing 2.
Right.
I'm playing Battlefield and I'm playing Dead Space. Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of that this week, I think.
Nice.
All right. So that's it for the show. Thank you for listening, as always.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PauseCastShow. And doing so will get you access to like interviews and other bonus content early. You get really detailed show notes, and you get the feeling of just feeling good by throwing $1 at us once a month. Every dollar kind of helps, and we appreciate it. Thank you to our patron, Ash Yee, for her continuing support of the show. Let's see. We're on Twitter, right? Twitter.com/PauseCastShow. We're on Facebook. Facebook.com/groups/PauseCastShow. We have an email address where if you email us, you can get free video games. Do you like free video games? Of course you do. Email us questions. Or even just like, you can say hi. PauseCastShow@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please consider giving us a rating or a review. Either one helps us out a lot. New this week, also, by the time this episode is up, because it's not done yet, I will have a Tumblr set up for PauseCast if you prefer to follow us there. It'll be pausecastshow.tumblr.com. Mark.
Yeah.
You're on the internet.
I am. I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. And you?
You can find me online at CockatielCutie, and you can also find me online at bird.school. All right.
Wait.
That wraps us up. Oh, no, it doesn't wrap us up. I forgot one thing. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. Leon has a new album coming up called Bird World, which Waypoint premiered this week. I would recommend going to check that out. You can listen to Honey Milk Island in its entirety for free and download it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. That's it. This is it. I didn't forget the music of my own. I didn't forget it entirely this time. I forgot it, but I was reminded.
Do you remember before I said anything?
I did, for once. Maybe I should just make you do it since you remember it all the time.
I remember about it, but you remember the details better than I do.
If I send you the details, would it help you remember it?
You can find them.
All right, that's it. We're done. Gotta wrap up. Other people are probably wanting to use the studio, right? Just kidding. We both record in our bedrooms. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.